Hi, I'm Hope from the Denver Public Library, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do a backstitch. So backstitch is usually an embroidery stitch, but every once in a while you'll see it crop up in a cross-stitch pattern, either as some part of lettering, it'll be the letter itself, or just a part of the letter, as in the and the in this one. Or sometimes it will be highlighting a piece of counted cross-stitch to make it pop from the background more. Sometimes it might also be for the whiskers on a cat or the legs of a butterfly or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to switch views and show you how to do a backstitch. So depending on where you look, you'll find a lot of different ways to do a backstitch. Different methods are more useful for different techniques or different projects. For cross stitch, I'm going to show you how to do the stab method of backstitching. So before we get started, I'm just going to point out that there are 3 strands, probably can't see that terribly well, of embroidery floss on my needle, just to make a nice thick line so you can see what I'm doing. A lot of patterns will insist that you use only 1 strand or 2 strands of embroidery floss. I'm a big advocate that it just depends on your tastes and the projects that you're doing. Some projects you might want something a little more delicate, so use only 1 or 2 strands. Other things you might want to really emphasize whatever it is you're backstitching, so you might use 3. So one way that you might use backstitch is, say, for a kitten's whiskers. So the first stitch is a normal stitch, and then you come back to the starting point. And this is a method that if you're going to do it this way, you want the nice continuous line of your stitch instead of it broken up. And again, this is completely personal preference. If you like the way that this looks on, say, a cat or a rabbit or whatever you might want to do, make sure to do this last, because you'll notice here that the stitches themselves are quite loose. So if you try to continue doing cross stitching, you might snag one and then have to go back and redo it later. So now I'm going to reset up my floss to show you how to outline something. Usually this method is more for outlining something or doing letters. So again, the first stitch is going to be kind of a normal stitch. I'm going to go 2 squares with each stitch. You might choose to do 1 or 3 or more. Again, it's personal preference. You can experiment with what you like. Just make sure if you're outlining something that all of your stitches are roughly the same length. So to keep them the same, we'll go 2 forward and then go back. So that's what makes it a back stitch, is that you kind of go forward to where you want the stitch to end and then go back to where you already were. And this is a method that you can use to turn corners as well. So for the next stitch, I'll do just kind of a regular straight stitch. And then maybe I want to just have that be a bump in the line, so I'll do a back stitch again. And then back up to a straight stitch. And then back stitch again. You can use it to turn corners or whatever. Your pattern will probably tell you exactly where your stitches need to go in most cases. It's a fairly simple technique, especially the stab method version. It's a useful tool to have in your toolbox. So give it a try if you have something that needs it, and let us know how it goes. Happy stitching!